Hello, this is Giggles, or Gigs, and I'm here to talk about weapon cores. Here what you see is a half-inch PVC pipe. For Dagorhir and Belegarth, a half-inch PVC pipe used to be a fairly okay core. I think they dropped out of use for the most part in like 2015 or so. It's a good starting point when building your first weapon, and they still have a place currently for flails, and they're also very easy to make bats on. So if you want to have like a club, PVC is an easy one to make a club with. Some of the problems with it is it's fairly heavy for the amount of length that you get, and it's not particularly durable. If you fight with it in cold climates, like 50 degrees or below, there is a good chance that you'll shatter your weapon. There used to be events that ran in the winter up north, and there was a high amount of weapon breakages at those events because it was so cold and a lot of weapons were PVC back then that they just shattered left and right. But if you're fighting warmer climates, then using PVC is okay. I've had PVC weapons last 3 to 4 years of fairly regular use, and they've been fine. I've also had weapons that I built and 3 days later they shattered because it was cold. So you want to keep that in mind. On a quick tip, if you have a core that you need to sand down, you can use the serrated knife. What you do with it, you take the serrations. You take the knife edge, you just drag it down. With the serrations, just drag it down and drag and pull, drag and pull, like this. So see that barcode right there? It's kind of messed up now, but we'll see how much more we can get it. This method. See, I'm taking the serrations, putting it on the core, pulling and dragging to the side. So if you don't have sandpaper and need to sand any of your cores, you can do that with a serrated knife. Okay. I recommend a maximum core length of 34 inches for PVC. You can do up to like 40 inches or so with half-inch, but after that point you start flexing out really bad. So I would recommend keeping your cores to a maximum length of 34 inches. That will give you about a 36-inch sword. Moving up from there, the next option. 3/8 inch fiberglass fence posts. You can get these at Ken Cove and Tractor Supply. I personally go through Ken Cove. These are, really quick. So a disadvantage of the PVC, it's a larger diameter. The larger diameter your core is, the more foam you have to use to pad it well, because you're measuring your flats. So when you go to pad the weapon on the flats, you have to put foam on each side, and then put your striking layer. So the wider your core is, the bigger that foam on the side has to be, resulting in a bigger, bulkier weapon. The more foam you use, the heavier it will be. So overall, not just the core is heavy, but also the amount of foam you have to use is more, and will result in an overall heavier weapon. With 3/8 inch, because it's a thinner core, you have the opposite of that. It's very thin, which can make it difficult to build on, which is why it's the next step up in PVC. It's still very affordable. On Ken Cove, they sell 5-foot pieces for about, it's like $2 or $1.50, one of the two, for 5-foot sections. If you buy a 5-foot section and cut it in half, you get two 30-inch pieces. 3/8 inch cores you don't want to go above 30 inches with, because after 30 inches of core length, the weapon starts to flex out. So the maximum size you can get on a single 3/8 inch fiberglass fence post is a 32-inch sword. That maxes out there. You can get more length if you double them up. That was a technique used, I think in the early thousands there was a lot of those. So that is a viable method. You can get a min rate by doing that. But I don't recommend doing it with a 3/8 inch core. There's much better options nowadays, but it is a possibility that's open there. This is one of the primary cores I build. All my starter swords I build are built out of these. They are very good, they're very strong, they last a long time, and they're a good core. I recommend them. One of my favorite ones to build on. Next we have 1/2 inch fiberglass fence post. I'm not sure if you can get the 1/2 inch from Tractor Supply or not. You'd have to check it out. But you can get these on Ken Cove. That's where I get all mine. These you can build weapons above 30 inches with. You can build min-reds on a single 1/2 inch core. That's what my min-reds are built on. It is heavier per foot than PVC is by a little bit. Such a thing to keep in mind, but this will last you a lot longer than PVC ever will. This does not have any fiberglass, has no problems fighting in the cold or hot. It doesn't get brittle like PVC will. And yeah, these cores are pretty much indestructible, especially in blue sword lengths. And they're easier to build on than 3/8 inches, because 1/2 inch is a little bit wider, so it's easier to get to apply your foam down on it and stuff. It is heavier though than 3/8 inch. That's something to keep in mind. A lot of blues were built on that from probably 2010 to 2015 when we started moving to kite spar. Another core option that you have is another one of my favorites. And this one here, I recommend building on these here after you've built on a lot of other swords, a lot of other cores. It is a graphite golf shaft. The interesting thing about graphite, it's also called, it's carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is the actual name of the material. Graphite is what golfers call it. Carbon fiber has a much higher tensile strength than fiberglass does. Now, these here have a really bad reputation in the community for being weak and brittle because they snap a lot if you use the wrong kinds of golf shaft. So, this golf shaft is around 37 inches, and it's a wedge. Golf shafts that snap tend to be drivers and woods. So you ever watch someone play golf, that is a very angry player, and they hit their club on the ground, the kind of club that they snap is almost always a driver and a wood. They never snap wedges. A wedge is made for when the ball goes into a sand pit, or a very small amount of water, or very thick grass. So when they use a wedge to slam that ball out of the trap. And so it's made to take a lot of punishment. Whereas a driver shaft is thinned down in the center to make it flex. And that flex makes the driver act like a whip to drive it down to the hole better. So when they snap a golf shaft, they're snapping drivers. That's why when people talk about building on golf shafts, they recommend not going above 40 inches. It's because a lot of shafts beyond that length tend to be drivers. And if you buy new wedge shafts online, they add a lot of extra length to them. They then cut down because each wedge number has a shorter shaft to it, or different lengths of shaft to it. So when they ship them to you with a lot of extra on the handle. They then cut down to the length that you need. So if you buy these online, don't cut away from the tip. Cut away from the handle. The handle is where the thinnest amount of carbon fiber is, or graphite is, and it's always thicker at the tip for wedges. These cores are very lightweight. They're lighter than kite spar. And as long as you get a wedge shaft, they last really long time. They're really good cores, and I recommend them. They're a lot cheaper than kite spar as well. If you can find these at Goodwills and stuff, thrift stores sometimes. Or if you have anyone that used to play and they just don't want their sticks anymore, see if you can buy them off of them. I've heard people getting them from different places for $3 a shot, which is a lot cheaper than kite spar. but you do have to build on it differently because it is tapered, so that makes it kind of hard to work with. I will be having a video soon on how to work with this core, because it is one of the cores I really enjoy working with. Makes a good, nice, light, balanced sword. Unfortunately, I do not have any Kitespar Bear cores on me at this current point in time. So, we'll move to its cousin, I guess, sort of. Brother? I guess brother. This is a half-inch hollow fiberglass tube. It's also colloquially known as a power tube. This, you can get at mgs4u.com, and it's basically thick wall Kitespar. Kitespar is the same idea. It's hollow